Hey dear class 10 students, hope you all are enjoying the revision videos on class 10. We are done with the chemistry revision, we are done with physics revision, now we are into biology revision where part 1 bio is already over. If you have not yet watched, please go and watch it out. The link is provided even in the comments as well as in the description. Okay, and now we are with the part 2 video where let me discuss some of the important questions and concepts from the most requested chapter, heredity and evolution. Okay, so here are the most two common type of questions that can be asked for SSLC board. You are not supposed to neglect this. And before we proceed with the concept, give a big thumb. Okay, I mean like the video and share the videos as much as possible. The more you share, the more knowledge you will actually get and the more benefit you are going to get. Okay, so share the content, let it help for maximum number of students. Okay, so that will always bring you good luck. Fine. And coming to the two questions that I have listed on a board. The first question is show the traits may be dominant or recessive. Okay, so this is an indirect way of asking monohybrid cross. Okay, so you have to explain monohybrid cross. Okay, so whenever this question comes, you have to do a workout on monohybrid cross. Or the question can also be asked this way, like they'll mention the genotype. Say a tall plant having capital T crossed with a dwarf plant with the genotype small t. Okay, so explain F2 generation with the help of checkerboard. Okay, so this is a direct way of asking monohybrid cross, whereas this is the indirect way of asking monohybrid cross. So you have to do a workout. Nothing is there to write as a essay type of answer. Okay, so you just have to follow the flow chart. Say what you will take, capital T crossed with small t. Okay, you can do this along with me. Take a pen, paper, it becomes a practice. Please do monohybrid cross, both F1 generation and F2 generation. So now I am starting with the F1 generation. So here in the F1 generation, you will get all tall varieties. Okay, you have to mention all F1 plants are tall. Okay, so now for writing F2 generation, you will take the same genotype. Okay, so you will do a self pollination of plants here. Okay, so capital T small t, and what are the gametes? So alleles will get separated in the gamete. Capital T small t is another allele. Here also capital T allele, small t allele gets separated during gamete formation. And now the checkerboard. Okay, so doing checkerboard is very simple. So just take the gametes of one parent and write horizontally. See, capital T small t. Okay, and the gametes of this parent I am writing vertically, capital T small t. Just you multiply capital T in the sense tall plant, capital T small t, this is also tall, and capital T small t, this fellow is also tall, small t is a dwarf. Okay, so out of say 100 plants you got 75% tall plant and 25% dwarf plant. So here what is the genotypic ratio? Okay, so genotypic ratio is 2:, right? Say look at here, tall plants 1:, capital T small t, how many varieties are there? 2, small t variety 1. So this is our genotypic ratio. They'll ask you to mention genotypic ratio and phenotypic. Okay, so for physical appearance, how do they look? Capital T, small t, all the three varieties are tall, right? So 3:, dwarf plant is 1. This is our phenotypic ratio. So on phenotypic and genotypic, separate MCQs also can be framed. You have to be careful. So this is the workout you have to do, okay, for monohybrid cross, or question can be asked this way and you have to be careful. So if the question is asked this way, at the end you add conclusion here. Okay, so what is the conclusion you will add? Dominant trait will get expressed in the future generation. Okay, so whereas the recessive trait, that is capital T, is non-expressive. Okay, so this much if you can mention as a conclusion, that is more than enough. Okay, so this is all about monohybrid cross. And now look at this question. So I'll erase this. And this question is a very frequent and commonly asked question for SSLC board actually. Show the traits are independently inherited. That means you have to explain dihybrid cross here. You have to explain dihybrid cross. Okay, so you have to take, like in your textbook itself, that example is there. You have to take plants with round yellow seeds. Okay, so round yellow seeds crossing with wrinkled green seeds. Wrinkled green seeds. This example you take and explain. Okay, round yellow. Round is a dominant character. So capital R, capital R. Yellow is a dominant character, capital Y, and here wrinkled, small r, green, small y. Okay, so this is their genotypes. Sometimes they'll give the genotypes and they'll ask you to mention the number of varieties that you get in the F2 generation. They'll ask you to put a checkerboard for F2 generation. Okay, so here in the F1 generation, directly I am writing capital R, capital Y, small y. So that means all F1 plants have got round yellow seeds. Okay, round yellow. So now on doing self pollination, see capital R, capital Y, small y, capital R, capital Y, small y. Okay, so here the gametes are 4 different varieties. This allele can stay with this allele, so gamete can have these 2 alleles. This one can stay with this, so capital R, small y, small r, capital Y. Okay, small r, small y. Okay, so these are the gametes possible, and for this parent also, since it is also having same genotype of this parent, same gametes are possible. Okay, so how do you write the checkerboard? Gametes of this plant, horizontally you put capital R, capital Y, capital R, small y. Okay, small r, capital Y, small r, small y. Like this, the same gametes put vertically also, capital R, small y. Okay, capital R, small y, R, Y and R, Y. So you just have to multiply and you will be getting, 9:2, right? I'm not filling all this because that's easy, just a matter of multiplication. Okay, so 9:3:3:1 is the phenotypic ratio. And don't worry, they will not ask you genotypic ratio for dihybrid cross. Okay, so they'll never ask you genotypic ratio. No need to find it out. Just remember the phenotypic ratio will be asked. Okay, so that means 9 varieties of round yellow you will get, 3 varieties of round green, 3 varieties of yellow wrinkled, and 1 variety of wrinkled green. Okay, so like this, 9:3:3:1 is the phenotypic ratio you will get. So this whole workout you have to do. If this question is asked, this is the most important way of asking dihybrid cross. Okay, and now in your state preparatory question paper, they have asked you one question which is actually very different. Okay, so let me explain that question. See, they have given genotypes capital T, small t, crossed with small t, small t. So they asked you to mention the varieties with the help of checkerboard. Okay, so these were the genotypes they gave in a question paper. They said that a plant having genotype capital T, small t, crossed with a plant having genotype small t, small t. Okay, explain the number of future generation plants with the help of checkerboard. Mention the varieties with the help of checkerboard. This was the question asked, right? Right? So mention how many of you have attempted this question in the state preparatory. If you have attempted, say yes. Okay. If you have not attempted, say no. Okay. But look at here. This is not homozygous tall. Heterozygous tall. Homozygous tall is capital T, capital T. Like the usual monohybrid cross that we learned. Okay. But it is heterozygous tall crossed with homozygous dwarf. Okay. So what are the gametes here? Gametes will get separated. So capital T will go to one gamete, small t can go to another gamete. Likewise here the alleles will get separated, gametes might have small t and all gametes here will have small t only. So now do a checkerboard. Gametes of this parent I will mention horizontally, and gametes of this parent I will mention vertically. Okay. So now just multiply capital T, small t, that means tall variety. Small t, that means dwarf variety. Okay. Capital T, small t, that is tall variety. Small t, that is dwarf variety. Isn't it? So here, right? So what is the, phenotypic ratio here? Phenotypic ratio is, look at here, 2 plants tall and 2 plants dwarf. It is not 3:1 here. Okay, so here 2 plants tall and 2 plants dwarf. 50% chances are there to produce tall plants. 50% chances are there to produce dwarf plant. Okay, so this is the answer for that question here. Okay, just if you can mention this workout, and then that is more than, and mention the phenotypic ratio, and here genotypic ratio also you can mention. Genotypic ratio would be, see capital T, small t, how many are there? 2 are there, and small t varieties also 2 are there. Phenotypic ratio 50-50%, genotypic ratio is also 50-50%. Okay, so this is the answer. So if you have understood this question, say yes. Yes, I have understood. Okay, so you have to carefully see in a question what genotype they have mentioned. Okay, fine. So that is all about monohybrid and dihybrid cross related question that can be asked in the examination. Okay, and after this, sex determination in humans. Okay, so this concept is also very important, right? So first they might ask you what are the sex chromosomes present in male. So in male, XY are the sex chromosomes, okay, in male, and in female, XX are the sex chromosomes, right? So how are sex of the child, how is sex of the child determined in humans? If this question is asked, this is how you have to write the answer. XY, that is male, okay, crossed with XX, that is female. Okay, so here the gametes are X. You can have a gamete having X chromosome, or you can have a gamete having Y chromosome. Here all gametes will have X chromosome only. Okay, so when this gamete of a father containing X chromosome combines with the gamete of mother, you will have XX, that is, there is a chance of girl child. Okay, when gamete of a father having Y chromosome combines with a female gamete, then you have a chance of getting a boy baby. Okay, so here actually 50% chances are there to get a boy baby and 50% chances are there to get a girl baby. So here one more question is very famous for SSLC. sex of a child is determined by father, how they will ask you. How question if asked, this is how you have to mention. Okay, see, father determines the sex of a child because the father's sex chromosomes are XY. If a father's gamete containing X fuses with egg, girl child. If a father's gamete containing Y chromosome fuses with egg, it is a boy, isn't it? So this is how the gamete of a father decides the sex of a child, because mother's gametes, all eggs of a mother contains X chromosome itself, but gamete of a father can either have a X chromosome or have a Y chromosome. That is why we say sex of a child is determined by father. Okay, so this is one aspect you need to take care. Fine. And after this, coming to evolution part. Okay, so this so far whatever the questions we discussed is a heredity part. Coming to the evolution part, speciation is very important. They'll ask you what is speciation, how is it caused, how is it caused, or what are the reasons of speciation. So what is speciation? Formation of new species is called as speciation. That's it. And how is it caused? See, just for 2 mark if it is asked, mention mutation or by genetic drift, okay, or by geographical isolation, okay, or by natural selection, okay, or by gene flow. Okay, so this is how speciation is caused. So these are the reasons behind the speciation. What is speciation? Formation of new species. Okay, so this is one important, but the same question if it is asked for 4 mark, you have to mention like definitions. What is genetic drift? Genetic drift is, loss of some alleles, okay, by chance is called as genetic drift. This is how in a simple terms you can mention the definition, no problem. Okay, so what is gene flow? Gene flow is migration of genes or alleles from one place to another place, okay, so this is how you can define gene flow. What is natural selection? Natural selection is nothing but nature gives, okay, here I'll write, nature gives survival advantage. This is a critical word, survival advantage, okay, for some species is called as natural selection. Okay, and what is geographical isolation? So here genes gets separated by some natural calamities, okay, is called as geographical. So this is how, like the same question if it is asked for 4 mark, you have to elaborate in the sense there are definitions you have to write. So this is how you can make use of these definitions to write it in a simple way. Okay, so this is one question important for SSLC board, and the next question is evidences of evolution. Okay, or tracing evolutionary, mention tracing evolutionary relationships. Okay, so this also can be asked. So here what you have to mention is, say explain evidences of evolution, or mention how do you trace the evolutionary relationships between different organisms. This way if question is asked, you have to explain, just write the definition of homologous organs, okay, analogous organs, okay, very, very important, and fossils, right? So here simple definitions I'll give you for homologous organs. I'll explain how to remember, trick to remember them easily. Okay, so homologous organs, see here, homologous, right? Say they have, homo means what? Same. The meaning of the word homo is same, right? So they have same structure and different functions. So how do you remember? S for same, S for structure. So what is same? Structure is same. What is different? Functions are different. Such organs are called homologous organs. So everybody type in the comment section S for same, S for structure. This is the definition for homologous. Homo means same, right? Same. What is same? S for same, S for structure. Okay. So different function. So this is how you have to remember. So what are the examples here? Four limbs of birds. Okay. Amphibian means what? Frog. Reptiles means what? Lizard. And mammals means what? Humans. Okay, or anything. Say they'll mention the limbs of, the legs of bird, frog, human. Which example? It is homologous. Say four limbs in the sense hands and legs. Okay, of a bird category or a amphibian category or a reptile category or a mammal category they have given and they asked you, then no doubt that is an example for homologous organs. Okay, fine. Analogous is opposite. So here same, function is same, different structural origin. Okay, different structure. Okay, so that is analogous organ. So here wings of birds and bats are the examples of analogous organs. Now fossils. Fossils are what? Preserved traces of, right? Preserved traces of organisms. Dead and decayed organisms are called fossils. So how do you determine the age of fossils? That is another question they can ask you. So how do you determine the age of fossils? One is by digging. Okay, so other one is by carbon 14 dating. Okay, so by finding the ratio of isotopes of carbon, you can find out the age of fossils. Okay. More the deeper layers you observe a fossil, then the more old it is. So if you find a fossil on a topmost layers, it is a new fossil. The deeper the fossil, the older it is. And this one, by comparing the ratios of isotopes of carbon, we determine the age of fossils. So that is how, these are the two methods to determine the age of fossils. Okay. So this is another most important concept that you can expect, okay, for this year's board examination. And next, see here, artificial selection. Okay, so artificial selection. So this is also important. Say this is the last concept of the chapter where, wild cabbage. So from wild cabbage, by changing the DNA of, what is artificial selection? Creation of new species by changing the DNA, okay, artificially. So man-made evolution is called artificial selection. Okay, man-made evolution. You can mention this word also. Man-made evolution. Man-made evolution is called as artificial selection. For example, wild cabbage. From wild cabbage, broccoli was synthesized. Okay, broccoli was synthesized, and cauliflower is also came by changing the DNA of wild cabbage, and the red cabbage red cabbage, right? Kohlrabi, kale, right? See, broccoli is a arrested flower, whereas cauliflower is a sterile flower. Cabbage, which is in red color, kohlrabi having larger parts, kale larger leaves. Properties, just now I told you, what is the property of broccoli? It is a sterile flower, right? Arrested flower, sterile flower. Cabbage, red cabbage, less spaces between the leaves. Kohlrabi, larger body parts. This is the property of the changed varieties. Based on a property, MCQ questions they can frame out. Okay, and the last one is tools. So mention the tools used for tracing human evolution. For tracing just any kind of evolution or the human evolution, what are the tools used? One is DNA sequencing. So by studying the DNA of the fossils, you can find out the nature of the organism. And then by identifying the fossils, okay, time dating. Okay, so time dating is one thing, and excavating. Okay, so these are, just mention them, you no need to elaborate. If it is asked, it will be asked for 2 marks. Mention the tools for identifying evolution or tools used to study human evolution. Then these are the tools used to study any type of evolution usually, so mention them. Okay, so this is all about the concepts that you have to be very careful with the chapter heredity and evolution. Okay, so now coming to how do organisms reproduce. Okay, so that is a much easier chapter, I can say. Okay, so here specially you need to know the asexual reproduction types. Okay, and what examples do they have? Asexual reproduction. Say you have studied something like, fission, right? Fission is one type. Again here simple fission and simple fission or binary fission or multiple fission, right? Multiple fission. And here for the simple fission you have studied amoeba is an example, okay, and leishmania also. Leishmania examples are very important. Amoeba, irregular splitting of parent takes place to give clones, whereas in leishmania splitting takes place in a particular direction, isn't it? Fine. And multiple fission, plasmodium you studied as an example. Examples are important, they'll ask you as a multiple choice questions or 1 mark. Okay, so next you had seen fragmentation. Fragmentation is also a sexual mode of reproduction. So when an organism attains maturity, when the conditions are favorable, fragments get separated. Each fragment is developed as a new organism. So here the best example is Spirogyra. Okay, and after that you have studied regeneration. So regeneration, suppose if the organism is cut by a chance, each cut piece can be developed as a new organism. That you understood in the example planaria. Okay, and next one is budding. So each bud can develop as a new organisms, that you had seen in Hydra, right? And next is, yes, let me mention here, vegetative propagation. This is very important. Vegetative propagation in the sense from the vegetative parts. What are the vegetative parts? Roots, stem, leaves. From these vegetative parts also you can generate a new organism, especially seen in the plants. And here they will ask you advantages of vegetative propagation. So advantages point by point I have explained in the state level preparatory paper video. You can just go to that video and check it out, but very important, 3 points at least you should remember. Okay, and the next asexual mode of reproduction is spore formation. So again here example is important. So what is the example you will write for spore formation? Rhizopus. Okay, rhizopus or bread mold. Okay, so it will have a hyphae and a reproductive part, sporangia. Sporangia contains spores. Spores when fall down on a moist area will develop into new rhizopus. Okay, so that is spore formation. So all these methods you need to know their definitions and these examples. Okay, and here the diagram based questions also can be asked. So you have to be careful, whatever the diagrams are there in case of regeneration, budding, you know, those diagrams you have to be aware of, right? And coming to a sexual mode of reproduction, right? So here first thing is, when you talk about reproduction in flower, so they will ask you unisexual or bisexual flower differences. So what are the differences between unisexual and bisexual flowers? This is one aspect. And later self-pollination and cross-pollination differences also they will ask you. Okay, self-pollination and cross-pollination. And the next very important question is, what changes are observed? Changes observed after fertilization. Fertilization is fusion of male gamete with female gamete to produce zygote is called as fertilization. So what changes you will observe is, these changes are very important. Okay, ovule gets developed into seed, right? Ovary gets developed into fruit. So this is very important. Separately, question can be framed in the form of MCQ or it can be asked as 1 mark. Always remember, ovule is developed as seed, ovary is developed as fruit. Okay, and then petals and sepals. Petals and sepals fall off. Okay, so these are the key points you have to mention in the answer. And not only that, you have to remember something under seed formation. Okay, so I am talking about seed formation here. So that seed will have a plumule and radicle, right? So what is a plumule? Plumule is nothing but future shoot, and radicle will develop as future root. Okay, cotyledons are like a food storage, isn't it, for the embryo. See, these changes are very important, especially ovule changed into what, ovary changed into what, plumule changed into what, radical changed into what. Many times 1 mark questions were framed on this concept. Okay, so this is what you have to take care of reproduction in plants. Now coming to reproduction in humans. See, for 3 marks, these are very common questions on reproduction chapter. Functions of different parts of female reproductive system. So you have to mention the functions of ovary, okay, oviduct or fallopian tube, uterus, okay, and vagina, right? So ovary, 2 ovaries, right? So ovary produces eggs. Ovary produces female hormones like progesterone and estrogen. Oviduct is the place where fertilization happens. Uterus helps for the nourishment of embryo for about 9 months. Okay, vagina through which the entry of sperms takes place. So this is how you can mention. Similarly, male reproductive system also different parts like testis, associate glands, which are very important, associate glands function, and then vas deferens and penis. Okay, so testis, sperm production takes place, and then testosterone hormone production, associate glands, seminal vesicles, right, and the prostate gland. So both of them produces a liquid which helps in the easy transport of sperm. Not only that, the liquid provides nutrition to sperms. Okay, vas deferens is a pipe-like structure through which passage of sperms takes place. Okay, so all that you can mention. And next important question is, what happens when egg is not fertilized? Egg is not fertilized. Or this question can directly be asked like, what is menstruation? Okay, so when egg is not fertilized, what happens? The thick vaginal wall, which is filled with mucus and blood, that will break up and it will come out through vagina in the form of blood and mucus. Okay, so that point you have to mention. This is also important. And finally, you have something like STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. Okay, so how to prevent sexually transmitted diseases and what are sexually transmitted diseases? You have warts and AIDS, HIV, AIDS, both are caused by virus. These are viral diseases. And later you have syphilis, okay, and gonorrhea, right? Gonorrhea, both are bacterial diseases. Bacterial diseases, okay. And then contraception. So what is contraception or family planning, right? What are the different ways of contraception? Like you have to mention mechanical methods of contraception, oral methods and surgical methods, right? In case of surgical methods, remember the difference between vasectomy and tubectomy, right? Vasectomy and tubectomy. Vasectomy is cutting and tying of vas deferens. Tubectomy is cutting and tying of oviduct or fallopian tube. Okay, so this is also one of the important concepts from the chapter where you have to concentrate. Okay, so that is all about biology revision. And on sustainable management and our environment, application question video, I will post it in the comment section. You can watch and get to know the question part of those chapters. Okay, and those chapters playlist link also I will provide in the description. You can just listen to the concept if you are not aware of. Okay, so with this I am completing the revision aspect, and focus everything that you need is available in the homeschool channel. Each and every concept, each and every application type of question, everything you will get in a channel. Just go through the playlist. Both science and mathematics is completely available. Recommend to your friends and share the videos to maximum of your friends. The more you share, the more benefit, the more mark you are going to get. Trust me. Okay, so thank you so much. Keep learning and all the best for your examination.